The World Series is over, which means the Major League Baseball offseason, or Hot Stove League, has officially begun, and so has the Yankees' mission for championship number 28. In this episode, I am joined by Terrence Kem, we call him TK, and we are going to talk about the Yankees' off-season targets and our personal wish list. Will the Yankees get Kyle Tucker? Will they bring back Cody Bellinger or Trent Grisham? Will they go after pitching? Could Paul Skenes be an opportunity? We'll talk about all of that next, coming up right here on Pinstripe Territory.
Just wanted to talk, that's all.
Just wanted to talk, that's all. Talking to my good friend, co-host part-time, Mr. Terrence Kem TK. We got some work to do because the Dodgers have just repeated as world champions, and a team from our division dethroned us as American League champions. So in this episode, we're going to run it all down how the Yankees can get back on top. How you doing, my friend?
Doing good, man. It's been a little break. It's funny, everyone was asking me if I was watching the playoffs. I literally didn't watch a second as soon as the Yankees got eliminated. I didn't watch anything. I just went in full hibernation. When the Dodgers won the World Series, there were fireworks going off around my apartment building. I was salty about it. Downtown LA looked like Gotham City. I was salty, so didn't watch a second.
I watched most of the World Series. I tapped out during that 18-inning game after about the 11th inning, but I watched every pitch of Game 7, and it was an incredible World Series. But in this episode, we're going to kind of run down the hot stove timeline. What's next as the Yankees try and rebuild a champion? The free agents that you can expect. We're going to count down the top trade candidates that are being thrown out there. We're going to talk about Bichette, who had that big home run in the World Series, but ultimately is a free agent and, might not come back to the Toronto Blue Jays. We'll see. We're going to talk about Kyle Tucker versus Cody Bellinger. I want to get your thoughts on that. We're going to talk about Skenes versus Skubal, and our guy, Brian Bashman, says, give it up on Skenes. Well, here's the thing about Skenes. He is a humongous difference maker. And there is a non-zero chance that he gets moved because Major League Baseball does not like him pitching in Pittsburgh, and he wants to win. He's in his prime. He had a 7.6 WAR last year. As a pitcher, up sub-2 ERA. So don't count the Yankees out. We know that they are interested. Cashman said as much, which he never says. There was a rumor today, actually a proposal from an SNY writer who proposed Spencer Jones for Stephen Kwan. So we'll cover that. And then Terrence and I put together our 2026 rosters, they're just bonkers, TK. They're like best case scenario for both of us. So stick around for that. That'll be what we wrap up with. But first, let's kind of go over the off-season dates that we got to look at. So the qualifying offer deadline and free agency is November 6th. And then we got awards week, November 10th through 13th. TK, do you think, that Judge is going to win the MVP, or do you think they're going to give it to Cal Raleigh? We know that Jose Ramirez is the number 3 candidate now, but I don't think he's really got a chance to beat either Judge or Cal Raleigh.
No, there's no way that Ramirez is going to win. Unfortunately, I think Cal Raleigh is going to win it. I don't think he should win. I think that Aaron Judge deserves to win the MVP. He's had the better overall season. Look, it's not to take anything away from what Cal Raleigh did this season. 60 home runs as a switch hitting catcher is unbelievable. You heard it here first. Unbelievable season. But this to me is like a similar. Yeah, first place you heard it, right? But to me, this is almost like a similar situation, but the other way around is 2017, where Altuve, who cheated, but Altuve, who won the MVP that year, who was hit like 340 that season, and Judge hit 284 with the 52 home runs. Like, if you look at that season, Judge kind of got robbed too. Cheating or no cheating, just stats alone. And I feel like it's almost like keep that same energy. That Raleigh had more home runs, but it's going to go the other way. I think there's a little bit of a Judge fatigue, a little bit of a Yankee bias, and I think just the sheer impressiveness of a guy hitting 60 home runs as a catcher will win him the award.
We got the qualifying offer decisions due on November 18th. Do you think the Yankees are going to offer Trent Grisham a qualifying offer? It's about $22 million. It would be a big raise for him, and it would put him back in center field. Do you think that they'll offer him, and do you think that he'll take it?
I think they'll offer it to him, and I think that he will not take it just because I've seen Baseball America's projecting on the contracts that they think guys are going to get, and I think I saw Trent Grisham 5 years for $130. And if you're Trent Grisham, this is your chance to really break the bank and really cash in. It's not that 22 million is not a lot of money. It is a lot of money. But I think he's looking for a little bit of more security in the contract, multiple years. I think multiple years is really what he's looking for. So just the 1 year aspect, I think, is not that attractive to him. And I'm sure his agent's telling him you could definitely get a 4 to 6 year deal at over 100 million. So yes, the Yankees, I think, are definitely going to offer it, but I don't think he'll accept it.
And that would mean a draft pick for the Yankees, but I believe it's after the 4th round. So it's not like it used to be where you would get a first-round draft pick, So that'll be interesting to see what happens there. We've got the winter meetings on December 7th through the 10th. I might try and go to that. We'll see. But that's usually where most of the action happens. A couple of years ago, there was nothing. I remember MLB was disappointed about that. But we'll see. We'll see how that shakes out. And the Rule 5 draft, which is always interesting. January 15th, the international signing period begins. And then, of course, this year we got or I should say next year, we got the World Baseball Classic. And I'm going to say this right now. If Aaron Judge gets hurt playing in the World Baseball Classic, I am going to go absolutely ballistic. So that's all we got to say about that. But let's go ahead and dive into the free agency because there's a lot of big names out there. We know the Yankees aren't going to sit completely still. So for the people listening, I'm going to run this down. Some of the big names. We got Bregman. We got Bo Bichette. Both of those guys would fit with the Yankees on the left side of the infield. Chris Sale, Cody Bellinger, Devin Williams, a couple of guys we're familiar with. Dylan Cease is a free agent. Edwin Diaz makes a lot of sense. Eugenio Suarez, who had a big postseason, he is a free agent. Framber Valdez, who hit his catcher intentionally with a pitch. Remember that? We'll see how that hurts him. I think he's probably going to end up somewhere other than the Astros. I think he might have worn out his welcome there. Gleyber Torres, free agent. Ha-Seong Kim, he opted out today. He is somebody that we can take a look at, but he is one of these guys that plays good defense, but not much of a hitter. Just a 234 average this year, 233 the year before, 30 years old. We got Isaiah Kiner-Falefa, who came that short in the World Series to scoring a big run. Blamed his coaching for holding him tight. JT Realmuto is a guy that we've seen a lot of Yankees fans talk about, right-handed catcher, nearing the end of his career, but still a useful player. He had a positive WAR. He's obviously a threat from the right side of the plate. I could see him pairing up nicely with Austin Wells or Ben Rice as kind of a platoon, and I know you've got some thoughts on him, so we'll talk about him later. Josh Naylor is a free agent. Kyle Schwarber of 50-plus home runs, free agent. Kyle Tucker, the biggest free agent, probably going to get over $300, maybe even $400 million. Lourdes Gurriel Jr., Luis Arias, somebody that the Yankees fans have wanted for a long time, but I don't think he's the same hitter he was a few years back. Michael King opted out today, declined his option. He is going to be a free agent. Miguel Andujar, Mickey Two Bags, Minataka Murakami, Paul Goldschmidt won't be back. Pete Alonso from across town, Raciel Iglesias, Ranger Suarez, Rob Refsnyder, Robert Suarez, Ryan Helsley, Trent Grisham, Victor Caratini, Willie Castro, and Zach Gallen. So just going through this list, is there anybody that you can think of right now that makes the most sense for you?
There's a lot of good names. Bo Bichette's interesting. Yeah, a couple guys that obviously were on the team. Cody Bellinger, if they want to retain him. Edwin Diaz is interesting as a closer, but I feel like the Yankees at this point, think ever since giving Britton and Chapman the contracts, I don't think they like paying relievers that much, especially for long-term deals. Kyle Schwarber, he's a DH, but the guy did just hit over 50 home runs, and he's, that I heard that the Red Sox might be involved, and that's almost one of those like we got to get him so they can't get him. Michael King, they were saying that they would be interested in a reunion. I think that makes a lot of sense as well if you want to go that road. But for me, it's kind of JT Realmuto is kind of the obvious one. This guy who's, like you said, kind of on the back nine of his career at this point. But a right-handed catcher. They had 3 lefty catchers. That doesn't really make any sense. You got to have one of them that's right-handed. He's a veteran guy. He's been around the game a long time. He was in a big market with the Phillies just now. I don't think he would cost too much money. I think it's like a 2-year deal max. And I think that if you grabbed him, there'd be a nice little piece, like you said, that tandem with Wells to have Wells and I guess Real Muto would be the starter and Wells would be the backup, or you would just kind of start Wells kind of against some righties or something like that. But that would probably be the name, I think, in free agency that I would be most interested in. I don't really feel like there's a slam dunk Juan Soto guy out there, where it's like everybody's gonna want him, right? So Bo Bichette, maybe Dylan Cease, there's some names out there, but nothing that I'm like blown away by.
It's heavy in pitching this year. I think there's a lot of guys that teams will want. And the pitchers usually get the most attention anyway because every team needs pitching. And somebody pointed out that we don't have Okamoto on here. There's a lot of free agents that we don't have. I mean, we can only fit so many guys, but this is kind of the big board of Okamoto is a first baseman / third baseman from Japan. You posted by the Yomiuri Giants, so we'll see how that shakes out. But I don't know if the Yankees will be interested. It's possible, but I think that there's a few guys on here that I'm very, very interested in for the Yankees. I really like the idea of Edwin Diaz. I think both Bregman and Bichette would make sense for the Yankees. I know that they have Ryan McMahon at third base. I'm not in love with Ryan McMahon. I know he made some nice defensive plays. Dude can't hit. We need a right-handed bat who can make contact. I think that both Bregman and Bichette fit the bill. I think Bichette probably will want to go back to Toronto, especially given the way it ended. He wants to take another stab at it. I'm not completely out on pitching. I mean, it's always Michael King makes a lot of sense if you want to bring him in. We got some guys injured. I mean, Carlos Rodon is having surgery. He's going to miss spring training. Do we really count on him to be in shape? I mean, you remember what happened a couple of years ago when he missed spring training? He was awful. When is Garrett Cole going to be back? I mean, we got a lot of decisions here. I don't see them being all that interested in like Chris Sale or any of the older kind of pitchers. I could see him having some interest in JT Realmuto as kind of that, supplemental catcher, but he'll probably get a starting job somewhere, I would imagine. Miguel Andujar makes a little bit of sense for me as a contact bat who could fill in the outfield. Maybe you platoon him with Jason Dominguez, right? I mean, Jason Dominguez against righties, Andujar against lefties, even Rob Refsnyder. He's played, a lot of outfield in Boston, and he's killed the Yankees. And again, hits lefties very, very well. I've seen some people mention Kyle Schwarber. I don't think it makes any sense, not while Giancarlo Stanton is on the team. And when we reveal our crazy predictions for how we're going to shake out our rosters, you will see that I did not include Giancarlo Stanton. I got rid of a couple of guys. I got rid of a couple of big names in my fantasy world here. But overall, I think it's going to be a very interesting winter for the Yankees. I could see them being extremely active in free agency and trades, and I can also see them mostly sitting still and saying, hey, we want to go with the young guys. So that's kind of the lay of the landscape. I want to talk a little bit about Bo Bichette. Let's start with him. 311 average. He's a power and an RBI threat. 3.4 WAR. Just 27 years old. He only costs money. You don't have to trade anybody to get him. He can play shortstop next year while Lombard comes up through the system. You can also put him at third base, and move McMahon out of there. He can play second base. He proved that in the World Series, and you can put him there and move Jazz back to third and still get a shortstop. I think he makes a lot of sense from an offensive standpoint, and that's, in my opinion, something the Yankees need. They need hits. They need guys who drive in runs, who make contact, who hit good pitching. So what are your thoughts on Bo Bichette just as a player, and kind of whether you think he'll go back to Toronto?
Yeah, offensively, I think it makes a ton of sense. I think it's a bit of a clunky fit defensively, but I don't think he's going to leave Toronto. I feel like Toronto, obviously, they came so close, 2 outs away, and he's obviously been there his whole career. I also think that Toronto is like one of those franchises where they can't get anybody to take their money. Guerrero was the first big contract they've given out in a while, and that guy was already on the team. I feel like they'll probably end up retaining him just because they have to, right? They just came so close to the World Series. I feel like they have to do the best they can to kind of keep this team together as much as possible. And, he was a major piece to that run for them. So I don't see the Blue Jays sort of letting him walk away, at least if it gets to that sort of, if he wants to for other reasons, fine. There's nothing to do about that. But I don't think the Blue Jays are really going to allow themselves to be, I guess, outbid. I mean, the Blue Jays owners are very, very rich
Yeah.
owners. It's a rich franchise. So I just don't think that he's going to leave.
Here's the point that I'm making, though. Sometimes, as a Yankees fan, it just feels good to steal somebody from your one of the opposing teams. Like when we signed Johnny Damon away from the Red Sox, that hurt the Red Sox and it helped the Yankees. And I think this would have the same effect. And we've got some people saying, we're talking about, I think Bo will be staying, exactly where he is and off the market quickly. Not so fast. I mean, this guy is going to get paid. Right, I mean, and when was the last time you saw somebody come off the market quickly who had a big contract? That's just not the way baseball's done anymore. I think he's going to test free agency. He's waited this long. If it was a sure thing that he was going to re-sign, why not re-sign before now? Why not re-sign after they signed Vladimir Guerrero? So I think that there's a non-zero chance that he comes back. He gets on base. I think he would be a good leadoff man should the Yankees choose to go that direction. He's got power. We saw him have some clutch moments in the postseason. Despite being hurt, he had that big home run in the World Series. I think he's a hell of a player. He's not a great defender, but I think that he's shown some promise. So that's something we should look at. Let's talk about Tucker versus Bellinger, and maybe even both, right? So I've done this slide a couple of times. We did it with Frankie. We did it with Ryan Garcia. So go watch those episodes. But I'll just run through it for everybody who's kind of new, who's maybe tuned out like you did during the playoffs. Bellinger, 5 WAR, 272 average, 29 home runs, 98 RBIs, 13 stolen bases, 813 OPS, 30 years old. Probably going to get 150 to 160 million if you believe the projections. Kyle Tucker, he's 2 years younger, 4.5 WAR, but he did have some injuries this year. 266 average, 143 OPS. So his OPS is higher. OPS plus, 22 home runs, 73 RBIs, 25 stolen bases. He's got speed, 841 OPS. And he's a guy who walks more than he strikes out the last couple of years. Like, this is a really, really good and valuable offensive player. Not so much a defender, probably going to be a DH in the next several years. And the Yankees, look, they have enough DHs. I kind of want to hold that DH spot open for Judge eventually in a few years, and I'm not sure I want Tucker filling that out. But let me get your thought on, because we haven't talked about this, Bellinger versus Tucker. Who are you leaning into? Like, if you had to pick one for the Yankees to go all in on, who would you go for?
I'm so 50-50 on it. I know that's like a cop-out answer, but I really am. Look, Cody Bellinger, look at the stats. He had the better season than Kyle Tucker did, but I don't think Kyle Tucker's really a fit in Chicago. I don't think Wrigley Field really is built for his swing. I think it's like 346 down the right field line. It's windy all the time. It's cold. The ball doesn't really fly. I think for Kyle Tucker, it's like he'd be really, really good as a Texas Ranger because they play in a dome, right? I'm not saying the Rangers are going to get him, but just as an example. Cody Bellinger is more versatile. He obviously just played in New York, so you know that he's going to perform as a Yankee. He is 2 years older, and Kyle Tucker was a little bit injured as well. So I'll say, like, I really, in my lineup, I should have put Bellinger / Tucker because, like, I would be fine with either one. And I think that Bellinger is a little bit more versatile. The only thing that gives me pause and kind of makes me lean on the Kyle Tucker side is just because of this. A few years back, Anthony Rizzo and Freddie Freeman Freddie Freeman hit free agency, and Anthony Rizzo, that was, they made a trade and then they signed him in free agency. And obviously, looking back, the right move was to sign the better player, which was Freddie Freeman. And if you watch baseball, you know that Kyle Tucker is a better and 2 years younger, better player than Cody Bellinger. So if you're going to kind of go back and look at that argument, you kind of have to learn from your mistakes and get the better player, right? Like that's kind of more how I look at it.
Well, it'll be interesting to see how all this shakes out. Let's talk about trade targets, because MLB Trade Rumors put out a list of guys who could be traded. And I want to run through this for the people who are listening and can't see it on the screen. So we got Mackenzie Gore, left-handed pitcher for the Nationals. Joe Ryan of the Twins, right-handed pitcher. Brendan Donovan, finally possibly on the trade block. And he's somebody who could make a lot of sense for the Yankees. He's a utility guy, but good player. Mitch Keller of the Pirates. Yankees make a lot of deals with the Pirates. You notice that Skenes is not on here, but we will talk about Skenes in just a minute. Sonny Gray, I don't see the Yankees being interested in him again, although I know that you're a Gray fan, so I went ahead and put him on here. Pablo Lopez is somebody that I personally have liked for a long time. He's a really smart guy. He was going to be a doctor if he didn't become a baseball player. So Pablo Lopez is somebody the Yankees really should consider if they decide to add pitching, and I think the Yankees are always looking to add pitching, but if they're able to move some of their other pitching in a deal for, let's say, I don't know, a star hitter, then maybe you're going to need to replace that arm, and he could be somebody you look at. Pete Fairbanks, relief pitcher for the Rays. I've always liked him. This is a guy who is a great personality, too. I think he would do well in New York. Freddie Peralta is somebody we talked about at the beginning of the year as being a potential trade deadline asset. He did not get moved, but he is going to be a free agent. Ryan Jeffers, catcher, Sandy Alcantara, pitcher. I thought his stuff looked great down the stretch. I mean, I know his numbers were not great. I was hoping the Yankees would pick him up at the deadline. You got Brandon Lau for the Rays second baseman. Stephen Kwan, and this is going to be our next topic before we get to Skenes and Skubal, is that he's been subject of trade rumors today. So he's somebody who could get moved. Adolis Garcia, who had some, big years, some big moments, but has kind of taken a step back. Jonah Heim also could be moved. Randy Arozarena for Seattle. He's somebody who I've always liked his aura. Actually, you know what? I hate his aura as an opponent. I would love it with the Yankees. I would be like the number one Randy Arozarena fan if he came to the Yankees. But unfortunately, he would probably take Dominguez's spot. So if Randy Rose is with the Yankees, Jason Dominguez probably is not. C.J. Abrams is somebody who I thought was interesting that they brought up. And I'm going to pull up his StatCast numbers because he was part of the other Juan Soto trade from the Nationals to the Padres. Let me go ahead and share the screen here. This is a guy who, he's kind of what we want Volpe to be. 260 with a little bit of pop. He's not a great defender. Doesn't have a lot of range. I mean, he's got a decent arm, but he's basically Volpe, but a better base runner, maybe. But I don't think he'll cost that much. Also, he's had some discipline things. He ended up getting, I want to say either suspended or benched at one point. Like he's had some discipline injuries. I should have done more research on that, but I remember it being a story. Josh Young is somebody that can play third base. I mean, if the Yankees decide to move Ryan McMahon, I could see Josh Young being somebody they pick up. Nolan Gorman, another infielder. Mark Vientos, there's been talk that he could be traded from the Mets. I don't know that I'm all that interested there. Nolan Arenado, I mean, if they were going to get him, the time was last year. And then, of course, Louis. How about Luis Severino for the bullpen? How about that? Because he doesn't make a lot of money.
I thought, didn't he sign like a $40 million contract?
That's not that much for... The Yankees have paid $40 million for relievers in the past. If he came in and set up, he could be nasty. No,
I don't know. That to me seems like a deadline move of like making a trade for Severino for the bullpen. I don't know if I'd want him at the start of the season, to be honest. I feel like you could. I feel like they got a lot of nice young arms that are flamethrowers that are kind of like just about ready to come up and contribute in the bullpen. So I think Severino, love him. Had some great moments. I think I pass.
So that's kind of the landscape. Let us know in the comments who you're looking at. But Stephen Kwan is somebody that we got to talk about. There was a prediction here from Anthony McCarron of SNY. He says Yankees will trade Spencer Jones straight up for Stephen Kwan. And that's interesting. Stephen Kwan only struck out 60 times this year. I mean, he is exactly what the Yankees need for this offense. Speed, stolen base threat, excellent defender, and not a free agent until 2028. Let me get your thought on Stephen Kwan for Spencer Jones. Would you pull the trigger on that deal if it was offered right now?
I would drive Spencer Jones to Cleveland myself to make that deal. To me, Stephen Kwan, the more I tuned out and the more I just sat in my misery of the Yankees losing in the playoffs yet again, and thinking of that picture of me when I was 9 years old, the last time with the trophy, the last time they won, I'm thinking about what the Blue Jays are, and the Blue Jays are the quintessential pain in the ass. They don't get out easily. They're tough at bats every time. They grind out at bats. They play good defense. They I know IKF had a mishap there. They run the bases decently well, but they play good defense. They make the plays. They have tough at bats, and they don't strike out a lot. And the Yankees are the exact opposite of that. And to me, the Blue Jays just kind of proved, well, October baseball is a totally different game than regular season baseball. We don't know this. I know that the home run and the analytics do work over the 162, but you don't get a large enough sample size for the stats to really be advantageous in October. And to me, Stephen Kwan is the exact player that this team needs. He might be my number one priority this offseason if you can get him.
Wow.
Plays that good defense, doesn't strike out a lot. He would be the perfect leadoff hitter. You could even hit him like 5 if you wanted to put him in the middle of the lineup just to drive in runs when guys are on. But to me, I know I got a couple people going like, no, I'm sorry. This is the perfect piece that the Yankees need. And he might get a couple extra homers just with the short porch. But to me, this is the guy. You got to get him.
I'm not a Spencer Jones believer. I mean, I know he's got power. He just strikes out too damn much. He's like, you talk about two players that are completely opposite. I mean, you got Kwan, who never strikes out, struck out 60 times. And you got Spencer Jones, who would strike out probably 220, 230 times in the major leagues at minimum. And we got Brian Bashman saying that we're vastly underestimating Spencer Jones. I disagree. I don't think you can read too much into his AAA home run numbers. There's not a lot of great pitchers in the minor leagues. It's very thin. Like if you can pitch, they get you in the major leagues. I'm just not a huge believer, but hey, maybe he proves me wrong. Maybe I would be okay with calling Spencer Jones up to be the fourth outfielder, and if he hits his way into the lineup every day, sure, because we know he's got a good arm and he's a good defender. But I definitely I'm not into giving him a starting job at this point, and he's too old to be in the minor leagues, I think. But let's. Sorry, go ahead.
I'll just say this last. First of all, my trade package was different than that. What they had, I had the Yankees trading Dominguez for Kwan, just because
Overpay.
I just don't think which may be an overpay, but I don't know. I don't think Cleveland's really reluctant to give him up. The thing about it's like Jones, like you said, he's going to be, what is he, 25 in the minor leagues? It's like, okay, the Yankees, it's kind of like, you're going to trade him or you're going to play him? Pick one. The Yankees already have like 6 players that have the Spencer Jones sort of, mindset. It's just home runs, the 3 true outcome player. I don't think they need another one. You need something different in the mix.
Let me stop you right there because we did get a call from Steve in Maine.
Yeah, hi Derek. Steve calling from Maine. I got a bone to pick with you. Another bone. Last year, in the beginning of the year, I recommended that we have to start playing for today and not for tomorrow. And if it's necessary to trade Lombard for a big shot pitcher or a big hitter, we should do it. And you responded with, stop smoking crack. And I recently saw your episode about who will be the leader. Now you want to trade Lombard for Nico Horner. Come on, buddy.
Come on.
I think you owe me an apology.
All right. So first of all, I will apologize to you because I would trade Lombard, but he had kind of a shitty year. But I would trade him for Nico Horner because Nico Horner to me is like kind of like a perfect missing piece. I mean, he's a 6-win player. He's a contact hitter, a good hard-nosed guy. He's basically what the Yankees did to get Chuck Knobloch in '98, and Knobloch was such an important piece that year. I know he went on to have throwing problems later on, but I mean that would be basically a redux of that deal. All right, so guys, I'm gonna preface this next one by saying it is nuts, but as a podcaster, as a professional podcaster, I would be doing a dereliction of duty if I didn't mention this. We're gonna get nuts. We're gonna talk about.
Come on, let's get nuts.
Derek Skubal and Paul Skenes. Now, there is a non-zero chance that both of these guys get traded. I want to say that, but it is very close to zero that they get traded. One, the Tigers are still in it. They're going to try and win a World Series next year with Skubal. If I were them, that's what I would do, but they might not be able to re-sign him. If you were to ask me if he'll re-sign with the Tigers, I'd probably say no. I think he could end up with the Dodgers. Paul Skenes, I think his star is at a level that MLB sees that it is bad for baseball for him to be in Pittsburgh, right? This is this guy's the best pitcher in the game, and he's pitching in a place where he went 10-10 because they can't score runs, they can't play winning baseball. And he's a star. He's not just a great pitcher. He's got that star factor. You see him on the red carpet. He's like going viral on Instagram for his like Halloween costumes and stuff like that. He's dating a star in Livy Dunn, who lives in New York, by the way. 1.97 ERA, 7.6 WAR, 23 years old, and he's a horse. 32 games started. He doesn't have a lot of mileage because he didn't start pitching until late in his life. He wasn't the guy who pitched, who was chasing velocity in high school, right? And then Skubal, just 1 year under contract, right? So it might not be quite as expensive to get him, but it's still going to be pricey. I'll tell you one thing that can absolutely not happen, TK. This can absolutely not happen. We cannot allow Paul Skenes or Derek Skubal to end up with the Blue Jays or with the Boston Red Sox. And I'm afraid that if we don't make the move, right, this is the Astros getting Verlander all over again. They're going to, I could see the Dodgers getting Skubal and winning a third World Series, right? I could see the Red Sox pairing Paul Skenes up with Garrett Crochet and winning 5 division titles in a row. Tell me that doesn't make you absolutely sick, TK.
For me, I think out of the two of them, I think Skubal is much more likely to get moved, just because of the contract situation. There's been reports that they are very far apart in negotiations on extension. I think what Detroit's reportedly offered is borderline insulting. We're talking about one of the best pitchers in the game. If he's not 2, he's 1. It's Skenes and Skubal, like, period. Those are the first 2 guys. Then I probably throw Crochet in there, like, right at 3. But, the fact that, so that's our little trade mock-up there that we have
Take
up
me through your Skubal trade, and I'll take you through the Skenes trade.
So for Skubal, I had Spencer Jones in this deal, but for me, like Spencer Jones, Jason Dominguez, those are like interchangeable names between the Kwan deal and this deal. But yeah, I got Jones, Heel, Cunningham, and Hampton all going to the Tigers in exchange for Derek Skubal. Just giving up Luis Heel. He has some value, obviously. He won Rookie of the Year. He's still a good pitcher. He's still young. He's got great stuff. He's been hurt a little bit, but you're obviously going to have to give something up to get something, right? And you got to give up prospects as well. They're going to want young, controllable prospects that are cheap. And then Spencer Jones, we've mentioned it. I had just said, because he's supposed to be MLB ready, so they could get a potential impact player right away. And Detroit is an enormous outfield. They have huge gaps. Spencer Jones is athletic. He runs well, so I think he could cover those gaps for them as well. But I think that is the most likely scenario. I'd love Paul Skenes, absolutely. But I've already look down the road with Paul Skenes where Garrett Cole and Carlos Rodon's contracts both end the year he becomes a free agent. And at that point, if you're the Yankees, there is absolutely zero excuse to not get Paul Skenes if you have almost, $60 million coming off your payroll, which at that point, that's probably what he's going to cost, honestly, is like a $60 million pitcher. But no, I don't want to just dump Dominguez. I'm trying to win right now. That's what I'm trying to do, because baseball might not be played. We'll get into it, but I was just going to say, this is about 2026, period. That's it.
Yeah, going back to what we said in the beginning, we've got a 2-time defending champion now that we're trying to stop from being a three-peat. We've got a division rival that just went to the World Series and took that 2-time defending champion to basically the limit, right? So they're on the rise. They're looking real good. So here is my imaginary deal for Paul Skenes, and you might say it's an overpay, but I'm emptying out the tank here. I mean, so the Yankees get Paul Skenes, Pirates get Luis Heel and Will Warren, 2 starters for their rotation to match up with Mitch Keller. So that would be, basically solid rotation still. They get our number 1 prospect, George Lombard Jr. They get another top pitching prospect who throws hard, who throws 100, who could be in the major leagues next year, Carlos Lagrange. They get Spencer Jones, a potential impact bat who, might surprise everybody, hit 30, 40 home runs, and if he learns how to make contact, could be a good player. It's kind of a lottery ticket with a decent chance of winning. And Chase Hampton, who's coming back off of Tommy John surgery, but is seen as a major league ready pitcher. And they might even be able to spin some of these guys and improve their rosters in other ways. But basically, you're giving the Pirates exactly what they want, a bunch of cheap young players. Yes, you're emptying out the farm, but you're getting prime Randy Johnson. That's what you're getting. You're getting 5 Cy Youngs, right? You put Paul Skenes in New York. He's a 5-time Cy Young Award winner, at least. minimum, and you're getting at least a couple of championships. I guarantee if you make the rotation, Skenes, Fried, Cole, Schlittler, Rodon, you're winning the frickin' World Series. That's just how it is. So those are our crazy talk trades for Skenes and Skubal. Let us know in the comments how crazy and nuts we are, how much crack we are smoking. Quick word from SuperPower, and then we're going to talk about our 2026 Yankees roster. If you combine all of our weird and wacky moves, what it would look like. We're going to get nuts in just a second. Quick word from the guys at FT.
FT fam, if you want more information about SuperPower, I have real-life customer Eric Kratz with us right now to explain how you're basically getting the pro experience available for everyone.
$199 is the price, and that's a discount from SuperPower. That's a discount from everywhere. You get so much information from your lab test results. Christmas is coming up here soon. You can give this gift to somebody else. Health is the gift that keeps on giving.
Your blueprint activated with SuperPower. Not only did SuperPower reduce that price to what Kratz is talking about, just $199, but for a limited time, FT fam gets an additional $20 off with code TAKE20. Head to superpower.com and use code TAKE20 at checkout for $20 off your membership. After you sign up, they're going to ask you how you heard about them, and make sure you mention FT to support the show. Stop only reacting to health problems and start proactively improving your health based on real personalized data with SuperPower.
Hey, just a reminder, get that like on, get that subscribe on, smash those buttons so you can join us for every single episode all year long. All right, TK. So we've got 4 voicemails, but first I want to talk through our wish list because we went today through some chatting back and forth, and this is what we came up with. If everything goes according to our plans, we're going to get nuts again. So take me through your lineup and your rotation of your 2026 World Champion New York Yankees.
All right, so I got Skubal at the top of the rotation. No, I don't think that the Yankees would need to offer more because it is a rental. It's a 1-year contract. He'd hit free agency right after that. So that is the reason for that. Then you have, this is all healthy as well. We're assuming health. But Skubal, Cole, Fried, Schlittler, Rodon. I went lefty, righty, in that way. I mean, you could order these however, but that's just the way that I went with it. Hill, I would pick up the option on that. Doval, I think, would probably come into his own. I'd re-sign Luke Weaver. I know he struggled. I attribute that mostly to the hamstring. He was never the same after that. I think it threw him off mechanically, and he was tipping pitches. I think he could, come back. Now, you're not going to sign him to a huge deal, but I would like to bring him back, but I don't know if he's going to because he may get starter opportunities elsewhere. But for me, that's what I would do. I like your Fairbanks thing, though, Derek. Leiter Jr., Cruz, Bednar. Bednar is the closer. I think he's won that job. My bench, Wells, Volpe, Cabrera, Slater, Rosario. That's just the depth there. I think that's pretty good utility. You got some nice depth there. But for me, the lineup starts with Stephen Kwan with great defense. I probably put him in center because I don't think Tucker or Judge should be playing center because I have Tucker in my lineup there. And Rice is the everyday first baseman, Stanton DH. And I am signing Real Muto to be the catcher. And I'm good with McMahon playing third as to start the season. I mean, look, he's not a great bat, but you might catch a little lightning in a bottle, but he plays great defense. And for me, Caballero, I'm good with him being kind of the quote-unquote stopgap shortstop. I'm pretty much off the Volpe train at this point. I don't think he's going to end up being a quote-unquote good player, if you want to say that way. And Caballero, I think, has that right edge that the team needs. He's annoying, steals bags. I think he'd be perfect to flip the lineup, plays pretty solid D, so I'm good with him being stopgap. And that's what I got.
All right, well, we're getting crazy, so, guys, before you tear us a new one, this is all, again, we're having fun. It's the first day or second day, I guess, of the offseason. We're having fun. We're, MLB the Showtime, basically. I got Bichette, and I'm signing him to play third. I'm sending McMahon out. I don't care where. I'm tired of mixing up McCann and McMahon, so that's the main reason. He can't hit. I would deal him. I would get Bichette at third base. Bellinger, re-signing him, putting him in center field. Judge, obviously right field. I'm signing Tucker. I'm putting him in left field. Ben Rice at first base every single day. Jason Dominguez becomes the DH. Where is John Carlos Stanton? Don't know, don't care. Maybe he accepts a trade. Maybe you cut him. I don't know. Got to get rid of him. You got to free up that spot. Jazz Chisholm, At second base, Wells, he's behind the dish for now, but splitting time with Real Muto, who I would sign to be kind of a platoon situation. And then C.J. Abrams, I think you can get him. I think they want to get rid of him. I think you can get him for a decent price. I know he's not a great defender, but Abrams becomes my shortstop. Bench, Real Muto, Volpe, Cabrera. Spencer Jones, I'm calling him up as the fourth outfielder who will run into some home runs in the games that he plays and just won't kill you with the strikeouts because he's not going to play every single day. And then bringing back Rosario, again, utility. My rotation, absolutely the best rotation in baseball. Skenes, Fried, Cole, Schlittler, Rodon. And then I'm also bringing back Hill. Doval, I thought, threw the ball better down the stretch. I'm signing Pete Fairbanks, who I think is great. Leiter Jr., Cruz, and Bednar. So those are your 2026 World Champion New York Yankees. All right, so let's play a couple voicemails here, TK.
Hey, Derek, this is Austin. That was an incredible World Series. Everything about it was fun to watch other than the fact that the Yankees weren't in it. Just wanted to say the Dodgers, congrats to them. They proved that they're the team to beat again. And all I was thinking about was, wow, these guys got outplayed in almost every single statistical category, and they still managed to win. And that speaks to their, championship pedigree and that calmness in the moment, that the Yankees just didn't have when they played them in the World Series. So, again, congrats to the Dodgers. And, yeah, I'm glad they won, not just because Toronto, gave us such a hard time after they beat us. But, they're shooting to, I think it was an interview with, I'm not sure who it was. It might have been, I'm not sure if it was Freeman. I think it was Freeman that mentioned the Yankees' dynastic run. And all I kept thinking was, we cannot let these guys match our 98-2000 run.
100%. You got to stop the three-peat and its tracks. And that's why you got to go above and beyond, like we said. Here's Mac from PA.
Hi, Derek. It's Mac from Pennsylvania. World Series is over. 5 days until we can start signing some free agents. But contact hitters, we've been hearing a lot about. The Blue Jays have a lot of contact hitters. And I'm not saying we don't need some contact. I'm not saying we don't need fewer strikeouts in our lineup. What I do want to point out is that the team who hit the most home runs won the Game 7 of the World Series. So hitting home runs is not a bad thing. All right? Looking forward to the offseason.
Appreciate the call, man. Sure.
Can I just interject on that? The team that hit the most home runs won the World Series? Yes. But that team comes through in big moments. That's an enormous difference right there. I don't know what's in the water at Dodger Stadium, the pedigree of the player, but they had two guys hit walk-off home runs, and they had a guy hit a game-tying home run in the ninth inning in Game 7. So they got guys who come through in the big moment, which is not even a tangible, measurable thing, but that's an enormous difference. Just want to say that.
I got to say this for the crowd. This made me laugh. Frankie Baseball says God hates Don Mattingly. The shot of Don Mattingly sitting there staring at the field, it made me hurt, man. As my idol, as my idol, I think the Yankees should bring him back on the coaching staff. No reason he shouldn't be part of the organization forever. But hey, it is what it is. Brian Cashman has ruined relationships with a lot of former Yankees, Derek Jeter, Reggie Jackson, a lot of these guys, and we had a call about that I think about all the time. But CK, any final thoughts as we prepare to kick off the winter?
Yeah, it's funny that I heard Cashman called up Jeter after the Fox Sports panel because he said this was the worst roster constructed, and he called him up, and I was like, "What are you doing?"
Doesn't surprise me.
Derek Jeter. Yeah, dude. When I was with the Yankees, I remember seeing Cash walk around. He's a very small, physical person. He's very short. And I remember he walked in the tunnel. I'm like, "What's up, Cash?" He's like, "Hey, dude," and he just kind of comes off as a little bit of a sort of Conor McGregor strut a little bit in Yankee Stadium. I don't know how to describe it, but if you ever meet the man in person, you understand what I'm saying.
Wow. Frankie says Cashman did say that he called Jeter as soon as he heard the comments to clarify whether the Hall of Famer truly believed what he said on TV. Interesting. I think Jeter should be involved in the organization. You know, he's got no business being on Fox. I think he's a winner, and I want as many winners as possible in the organization. All right, ladies and gentlemen, thanks for watching. Obviously, not the finish we wanted for the year, but the offseason's always fun. So tune in all year long, all winter long. I'm going to be back later this week. I'm trying to get Trevor May on. He agreed to come on, but we haven't settled a time yet. If I'm unable to get Trevor May, then I'll probably just do a solo episode, maybe some voicemails later this week. So call in. I've got to do at least 2 shows per week per my contract. So call in. You know, people tell me to take time off. There is no time off. We do the show. We do it year round. That's how we roll here on Pinstripe Territory. And we'll see you next time. If you enjoyed this content, please hit that like button and subscribe. Check out NYYDesigns.shop for some great merch. Support our sponsors. It helps keep the show going. And you can find us on all major audio platforms, so be sure to subscribe there too. But most importantly, come back again soon. We'll see you next time.